YouTube, how you doing? Today we'll be checking out a bit of a, I guess, a controversial topic and all that on is Star Rail a verse? I can already see that it's probably gonna be going into the power creep problem that's been creeping up, especially over the last version, the whole pen of I guess ever since Penacony, the power creep curve has been gradually and it might lead to somewhat of a bad future outlook of sorts. But let's see what he's actually. Either way, before we get to the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's check out what this man has to say.
I just can't anymore. I feel like I'm going insane hearing this all the damn time. Honkai Star Rail is amazing. Not like that shit Genshin. Penacony, more like Pikacony. Am I right? No, you're not right. In fact, you are absolutely wrong. Now hear me with...
I don't think he's fully... I think that's a stupid take to shit on Genshin, because Genshin Natlan is great. I have my criticism with Natlan, but Natlan is great. I think Penacony's story was great. Overall, I think it's other things that make Star Rail. I think we get to that if the power creep.
Can I say this? And I'm speaking to you. Yes, you. Specifically you. Honkai Star... This gets closer. Honkai Star Rail fucking sucks. And I can prove it with numbers.
Yes, science!
Now let me explain. First of all, do I even play Honkai Star Rail? Yes. Kinda. I mean, I log in, stare at Himiko, do my dailies, stare at Kafka, do the simulated universe each week, stare at Hanya, and have slowly been building up my characters. I started back around mid-March after watching the 2.1 live stream about all the new rewards after the anniversary. Hashtag Genshin could still never. And I wanted to quickly grind up through all the content from 1.0 all the way through to...
What do you mean Genshin still could never? They're still they're the same rewards as Genshin. In Genshin we had a free standard 5-star. It may have been the higher, it may have been something overdue since ages, but it's still technically the same reward. Although, I guess in Star Rail still has more worth because Himiko and Bronya don't suck ass. Now Clara's alright too. Whereas in Genshin with the standard, Jean is decent with Arena. This year has a few new teams, and this year's waifu. Oh well, that's
2.1 to get Akron, because I'm a disgusting little simp that wants her to step on my I got Sparkle, Dr. Ratio was in my inbox, as well as all the free pulls. The introduction to the game was really fun and engaging. Crept. I enjoyed playing through the Herta space station and pretty much everything on Belobog, especially Kokolia. Oh. Huh? I thought you said Honkai Star Rail sucks. You're glazing it harder than a Krispy Kreme donut right now. When are you gonna... Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. Shut the fuck up. It had good design, action, pacing. The story wasn't too simple, but still easy to follow. There was a good balance of puzzles, battles, and story all woven together well to make the storytelling experience really enjoyable with a fan...
Belobog was probably... I think on the Xian show, especially if you played every patch... I don't think he even had that... I don't know when he started. The Xian show experience... was kind of rough with the patch by patch basis a bit, because you had like everything was hidden a secret and all that, and you had that weird crazy woman that you for some reason had to deliver like her letters to and watch her bully some blind girl, and in the end she just died like an idiot and was completely insignificant. I think later they made that story part optional, and if you play past the part where she's dead, you can't even play the quest anymore or something. I think they changed that later, but initially you had to play through that shit, and then you got a cliffhanger after that. That was kind of rough.
Fantastic soundtrack and an amazing finale with the Kokolia fight, and then we get to Zhuangzhou Luofu. No one really likes that area. Just wait until you get to Penok.
the cargo.
Zhangzhou Lofu wasn't the worst. Definitely a step down from the massive high that we got after the end of Belobog, but on the whole, I don't actually mind Zhangzhou Lofu. It was an interesting world with a completely different vibe. The music was good, the puzzles were fun and interesting, and we got new lore.
Great,
the thing that really dragged it down, in my opinion, was the unnecessary jargon for relatively simple concepts.
I'm here to witness the divination of the Matrix of Prescience.
You're here to read her mind and get some information out of her.
I mean, that's whole thing with Fushun. Like, she's always talking weird shit in circles, like 20 million.
It's the divination of the Matrix of Prescience. Just speak fucking English, goddammit. But whatever, like I said, putting aside the random jargon and exposition,
I believe we are dealing with the so-called disciples of Sanctus Medicus. The Xianzhou has the blessing of the Rainbow
I guess this
Arbiter
can be
and the Ambrosial Arbors.
This can be confusing. I guess this part I would agree that it's definitely because they have different names for things that are potentially already known. Like can I go back a moment? Rainbow Arbiter, because often they put it above it, and sometimes they use on different terms. But Rainbow Arbiter basically just the land of the hunt, and it's just that same. I guess it's more known with we know of Nanook, the destruction, and they call it Nanook the ruin author. So it's basically a whole different term for something that you technically already know for no reason. I think that's what he's having problems there with. For stuff like the Ambrosia Arbor, which doesn't have any equivalent terms, that's fine. That's just their fucking tree. But I think it's potentially problematic if you get like too many of the different names for things that you technically already know as a player. And by sometimes they put it above it, it's still like, why do we need 20 million terms for the same thing?
Joe has the blessing of the Rainbow Arbiter and the Ambrosial Arbor's delve.
The Ambrosial Arbor was felled thousands of years ago.
it wasn't the worst area I've ever been to. Oh no, that crown undeniably goes to Penacony. Okay, come here. Closer. A little more, closer. Fuck Penacony. I have never had a worse gaming experience in my life. And I've been playing games since I could hold a controller. I can remember playing Sonic the Hedgehog on the original Sega Mega Drive back when I was about 3 or 4 years old. I didn't get far. I was a kid. I just like seeing the spinny ball go zoom. Anyway, my point is I've been playing games for a long ass time. And never in my 35 years on this planet have I raged at just how mind-numbingly boring Penacony is. And yes, I am including that Aranara quest from Genshin. Still not as bad as Penacony. Belobog was good.
But Aranara was good. What is he on about? Aranara was great. Maybe that's a hot take as well.
Lofu wasn't bad, but then it just dives off a cliff with Penacony. The biggest problem with Penacony is that it's just not fun, like at all. You literally cannot do a single thing for the first hour and a half where you get to that one battle that takes about a minute to clear, and after that you're right back to yapping for another 48 minutes with literally nothing to do but run around with Firefly doing real important stuff like roulette, ice cream, and bubble pinball, I guess. Oh, got another battle. That's another 1 minute of something, I guess, against a fucking trash can.
I do suppose that they're straying away from, and I have a feeling that's probably because maybe that's such a vastly different thing with how characters, like, they have barely any battle within the main story, because if you have too much battle or if you make it too different, the Pepega gamer cannot get through. The average keyboard drooler cannot get through. Oh wait, it would be played on a phone mainly. The average phone drooler, I guess? Is that a thing? Do people drool on their phones?
Oh no, mama!
I actually timed how much turn-based action RPG we got in this turn-based action RPG game. So 2.0 takes about 5.5 hours to complete, right? Keep in mind this is about the same amount of time it took for us to complete the entirety of Belobog. And this is just the introduction to Penacony. So yeah, 5.5 hours, and of that you spend a grand total of 9 minutes, 24 seconds actually doing that. I did the math. That is literally 2.85% of the time doing the thing you came to this game to do. Oh, so it's not good if you're not constantly fighting? Is that what you're trying to say? No, not at all. I don't need it to be 100% fighting all the time. Hell, I don't even need it to be 50%. But less than 3% is not nearly enough. I didn't hate everything though. There's the interactive section with Firefly. That was alright. Took about 15 minutes though. Then
I guess it's more visual novel actually than game, than just a video game.
there's a time that we're in the dreamscape. This is the only area in Penacony that I actually enjoyed. This is what we were promised in the beginning with that whole scene with Acheron. And when we were there, I immediately felt a major shift in tone and storytelling that was completely absent so far. Okay. Right, I'm guessing this is where the story gets good. At least I'm hoping. Too bad we were only there for about 45 minutes, max. Most of the time, you can't really do anything but go to the next dialogue location and sit around watching people yap. How much yap, you ask? Again, I timed it. 3 hours, 49 minutes, and 36 fucking agonizing seconds of yap. Out of 5 hours and 17 minutes of story, might I remind you. And at the end, the big twist, the big reveal is that Robin is dead.
Oh no. I know.
Oh, you mean the girl that only had 3 minutes and 43 seconds of screen time this entire quest? That girl? We were supposed
I thought she had a bit more. You saw when you go on the dream, and she was at the start with the robotic voice to
care that she died? Her own song has a longer lifespan than she does. Seriously, why was I supposed to care? Then on to 2.1 when we continue on with Trailblazer's story. Right? Wrong.
This is adventuring story now.
Oh, this quest. This fucking quest. Oh my god. It pissed me off so much I was about ready to punch through my desk.
Like it.
I thought 2.0 was bad.
I thought adventuring was kind of... His backstory was pretty cool, I thought. Although it's a pretty long story part with from hallucinating and whatnot and talking to himself.
But I had absolutely no idea about the mind-numbing torture I was about to get myself through. Looking back on it, I would rather French kiss a Dementor than go through all this again. The quest is just less than 6 hours long, and 4.5 hours of that is nothing but pure fucking yap. Shut up. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck. There was a total of about 24 minutes worth of fighting. 13.5 minutes of those weren't necessary to the story at all. 45 seconds were necessary to the story. And the last 11 minutes were the fight against Aventurine. You spent more time staring at static images listening to people talk about deep politics and very important theological stuff you have no idea about. What do you mean? It made sense. I followed it. Were you even paying attention to the story? Yes. Yes, I was, actually. I didn't skip a single line of dialogue. I was a good little boy and I took it all in. And all this stuff that went on about in Penacony made literally no fucking sense. For a new player, that is. Here's the thing. A lot of the stuff being talked about in Penacony, you have to play through the simulated universe several dozen times. You have to have gone through all the different encounters and read through all the dialogue trees there are to understand what was going on. Can I get some peace and quiet today?
I didn't read through the simulated universe stuff. Who the heck reads through all the simulated universe? I feel like that I read a bit through it, but then it gets too much because simulated. I never read, and I think I understood the stuff with, but I guess you wouldn't, because I got it from, I guess, a Reddit post with the whole thing with Oswaldo Schneider and Aventurine's planet not getting back. But you can probably, even with that outside knowledge, still understand that part. That his planet got fucked by the IPC.
Holy shit. All this stuff about the hunt this, harmony that, nihility, emanators, jipe, etc, etc. All of that was hardly even mentioned, let alone explained in the main story. Like, at all. And maybe I'm a little bit naive for thinking this, but I think if something is going to be talked about in the story, it should be properly introduced and explained in the story. Wild concept, I know. Also, another hot take here. But I thought the main story quest was supposed to, you know, follow the main character. The majority of 2.1 was from the perspective of someone that I could literally not give two flying fucks about. Aventurine. Oh my god. In 2.0, he was on stream for a total of like, say, 30 minutes. Most of the time he was being a dick. And in 2.1, you're supposed to spend most of the time in his point of view, following his story, talking about things that we don't know, doing things we don't care about, talking to NPCs we're going to forget about. Why was this in the main story quest? I literally could not have cared less about adventuring when going through this, and I was slowly hating him more and more the longer I was forced to play as this golden-haired fuckboy with freshly shaved testicles on his chest. Well, it's supposed to set up his motivations for the...
That was kind of funny though. The testing of... I like that though. I mean, you liked him enough to pull for him even his light. You even got his light content. But I guess if you don't like adventuring, that part probably was rough.
Final battle and yeah, and character story quests exist exactly for this reason. What they should have done is saved all of that for a quest that we have to do after we, Trailblazer, go through our own story. Go through that, make Aventurine seem like the villain, have the big fight with Aventurine, yada yada yada. Then we have a character story quest unlocked where we flash back to go through all of Aventurine's stuff. That would recontextualize how we see him as a character and put everything in a new light. If you're familiar with Harry Potter, you'll understand what I mean. We go through that story thinking Snape is a bad guy out to get Harry. It's not until far into the later books that we get his backstory, and it completely changes how we see him as a character and his
Harry
actions
Potter
in the story
spoilers.
so far. If we had known that backstory before all of this, it would have ruined many narratives and plot twists. Now back to Honkai Star Rail. So putting aside all the Aventurine stuff, we spent about 2.5 hours as Trailblazer, and what we were doing? Going from one location to another to stand around talking. Most of the dialogue is basically recapping what we just went through in 2.0. That is until the bar sequence. Quick question. What was the fucking point of that bar sequence? Did I miss something? Like, Shaban is hot and all, don't get me wrong. But on the whole, the entire thing had nothing to do with...
That's, I guess... Because we made the drink there in the bar for... Like, we went to look for Gallagher, but I don't know why he made us made a drink.
the story at large, right? Seriously, what was the point? Just to set up that drink mixing minigame? Okay, why is it in the main story quest though? It makes no sense at all. Hoyoverse, listen, I get that you want to make this game a more cinematic experience. Cool, I like movies. But to do that, you've got to learn a thing or two about, you know, cinema. Having people stand around talking for several minutes at a time with no changes in angle, character focus, zero character movement, or anything like that is just not interesting at all. And that's when they're trying. Like I mentioned before, there were way too many static shots or just straight up black screens in this patch. And here's the golden rule for cinematic storytelling, Hoyoverse. Show, don't tell. In fact, there were a total of 35 minutes and 54 seconds of scenes with static images, whereas a grand total of 24 minutes, 7 seconds actually in battle. At this point, Honkai Star Rail is the equivalent of Love and Deep Space, a visual novel with minor gameplay aspects. Which is fine for lads because that's what they marketed themselves as. Can't say the same with Honkai Star Rail though. And this tell, don't show style storytelling, using that...
Did he actually play the game with the dudes to get the footage?
Word very loosely, continued into 2.2 as well. I think you can tell what I'm going to say about this patch too. Too much yap, not enough gameplay at all. Not a single battle for 3 whole hours, and that one only lasted a couple of minutes too. In fact, there was one whole 15-minute section of nothing but black screens and 2 static images. 15 fucking minutes. Jesus Christ. Imagine watching an episode of your favorite anime and it was just literally 1 or 2 pictures for the entire runtime. But at this point, I knew what I was kind of getting.
I know the anime that he's talking about. Blue Lock. He's talking about Blue Lock. I never seen it myself, but I've heard the second season has massive frame problems. I think they only show like 2 frames every 15 minutes or so. Am I right?
Myself into, so let's just take it for what it is. Maybe I'll enjoy it more that way. Nope, but it's not as bad as Genshin. At least you don't have to listen to Paimon. Who needs Paimon? They do the exact same thing in Honkai Star Rail too. Repetitious, redundant dialogue talking about things we just did or things we don't care about. Sure, maybe it's not as annoying as Paimon's high-pitched screeching. But why is Sunday telling us about how Robin got shot in the neck? Again, too much tell, not enough show. Why aren't we seeing it? Now, I don't mean to go the full PG-13 route or anything like that. I mean, think of the children. But they could have done it in a way where we take control of Robin for a short period of time, where we see her helping the civilians. We see the war-torn location, the desolation, the despair, the tragedy, and Robin trying to be the shining ray of light, the song of hope for the people. We see her going around, helping people, and see hope return to their faces because of her. Then at the end, we can get a scene in the evening. The sun is setting, Robin's in the distance, backlit beautifully, leaving only a black silhouette. Then we hear a gunshot, and we see her fall to the ground. Fade to black. Cinema. Pure fucking cinema. We could have done all of that in about a 20 or 30 minute sequence. Reuse assets from Bellabog or something. It's not that hard. But no, we get Sunday yapping about it for several minutes, speaking in such a monotone drawl that I almost fell asleep.
I never played the English version, so I don't know English Sunday. What I do know is that Sunday loved to talk about the bird. I think they told the story of the bird like 10 times or so. Like the whole thing got turned into copy-paste. I'm not sure if you've seen that one. Although I think there's like the meme version of it with the change. Like about the whole thing with the what was it called, Charmony pigeon or something, and they took it in because his backyard is like home to like 13 different apex predators or something, and if he leaves it there, that it's gonna get eaten for sure. But it's like the whole copy paste with like emojis to make it look as ridiculous as possible.
Understand why she always wears such elaborate neck ornaments, don't you?
This was supposed to be his biggest motivating factor. This is why he was drawn to Order, and he talks with such apathy about the whole entire thing. His entire story is about him wanting to protect his sister, to keep her in a cage for her own protection, and she wants to be free despite the danger that might come to her. I'll give this to 2.2 though. It did start to explore interesting philosophical concepts with this plotline. They kept bringing up the question of is it better to be in a cage completely protected from harm, or is it better to be free even though you may get hurt? The whole thing between Robin and Sunday is that their relationship is much like the bird in the cage flashback that was just brought up, and it was genuinely interesting. Well, it was the first time we heard it, but the amount of times they bring it up and not do anything with that concept until the very end just got annoying. I wasn't the only one that noticed this either. Even now there are people making Chominy Dove memes. I could go on about all the other things like how nobody seems to speak like a regular human being.
He definitely went into the Charmony Dove. I mean, the Charmony Dove is like literally the...
Still unwilling to reveal your true identity?
I mean, this dialogue is they're basically just talking about the Honkai Impact story. They're just dropping Honkai Impact spoilers there. It's not really that they're talking to somebody who played Honkai Impact there actually. This whole dialogue is just them dropping about it's basically two people talking about Honkai Impact story, and if you don't know it, then you're basically like some random normie that never played the game listening to something you're clueless about. I do suppose that might make it wrong. If they have like a whole dialogue.
It's not that I don't want to. It's just that I can't. I've come so far, and I can't sum up all of that in just a few words.
Not to mention that a lot of the dialogue sounds like it's written by an edgy 13-year-old trying to be deep. Why does life slumber? You're fucking kidding me with that line, are you? What the fuck does that even mean? People think that's deep. Yeah, okay, whatever. And other issues that aren't really Honkai Star Wars specific, like the single choice dialogue options, or the illusion of choice, where you have like several options, but they all say practically the same thing. And
I guess that's. But worse than the illusion of choice is the one line that's basically over multiple lines. The best you get with the dialogue options is, and that in any of the MiHoYo games it's the same basically. The best you get with dialogue options is an angry reaction from Paimon or March because you shit talk them. That's the best you can get, but that's at most one line that they give you. I think that's generally a thing they do, that because you don't really have any influence on how the story, because it's not full on. It's very linear in that sense, because you cannot get like a different ending or something. Like in The Witcher, for example, depending on your choices, you end up with different endings of sorts. But you don't have that because everyone ends up with the same, because the continuous story cannot be kind of proceeding that way. Otherwise, because you would have to account for like different things, or unless it's like involving a character that then afterwards, let's say a character dies or can live, then that character will afterwards not ever be relevant again. Regardless of what you do, the character will never appear ever again. because you need to account for the fact that the character might be dead. And also the character probably will never be mentioned ever again. The only way it would be mentioned if it's unvoiced. If unvoiced would be mentioned in unvoiced then again. Because unvoiced has some variations in it, in that general writing. That's why you have like side questing. Like I think in one of the side quests in Genshin, if you go with the Ranara quest, since you already meant the runner at the end of the Ranara quest, I guess you have a somewhat of a choice, although I think it doesn't even matter because the guy dies anyway. I don't know how it ends with, but there's like that one Fatui spy, and you have the choice of what to do with him. You either let him go, and I think he dies off somewhere randomly, or you can murder him yourself. Let's just say I murdered him myself. I finished him off myself, so I don't know where he went off to die. But the choices are kind of not really there. I think it's kind of rough to incorporate choices that have like big impact of sorts in a game that tells a linear story like this. I'm not sure if it's really possible within the nature to have like different outcomes of. To a lesser degree, it could potentially be done, but on the overarching thing, it would always have to be something that doesn't matter. And it would also mean they have to voice act more, which they're probably too cheap, so you at best you get it in a side quest. But the dumbest thing is if there's like literally one line written over two things because the one line is too long. One line written over two answers because the space ran out. That's so stupid. I'd rather take two samey answers, but even that is kind of point. So I guess the best is you get one angry March reaction for calling her stupid or something.
Leads to no changes at all in the dialogue tree. Like, what is the point? But at this point, I think I'd be kicking a dead horse. On the whole, I think the gameplay and story in Honkai Star Rail is good. What do you mean it's good? You've just been ranting about it this whole time. Now, listen to what I'm saying. The gameplay is good. The story is good. The storytelling is absolute horseshit. It doesn't matter if you think Honkai Star Rail's gameplay is the best that gacha games can be. It doesn't matter if the story is the best thing out there either. Now hear me out. You could have the most delicious kernel of corn in the world. This corn tastes so good it can change your life and you'll never taste anything better than it in the entire world for the rest of your life. But if that kernel of corn is encased in a giant dog turd, I don't care how good it tastes, I'm not fucking eating that shit. Sure, the corn might be good, but getting there was an absolute nightmare and I have the aftertaste of dog shit in my mouth. No thanks, I'm good. I've been meaning to play through 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, and 2.6, but I just physically cannot get myself in the mindset of I'm about to put myself through torture right now. I'm about to put myself.
I thought the Xianzhou second part was a lot better than the first. The return to Xianzhou was better than the first time around. The last one, 2.6 was the 2.6 was kind of a strange one with the monkeys. That was kind of wild. But I guess I did like Rapper.
Through torture. This is gonna hurt. This is gonna be painful. I am going to kill myself. But why do I feel like this and the rest of the gacha community still raves about how good Honkai Star Rail is? Best storytelling? Are you fucking kidding me? This is what I think it is.
Because to be honest, I don't really have. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm kind of built differently because I don't really have that much of a rough time going through the what he calls yapping. Maybe I'm too used to that from anime already. That sort of, I guess, more Asian story writing. I think that's something that happens more commonly in Asian story writing. That has lots of words. So maybe I'm just too used to that stuff already. that I don't even really notice.
Is. The people who think Honkai Star Rail is good are those who jumped on Honkai Star Rail from day one. They've been playing it every day, piecemeal, and they haven't noticed the gradual decrease in quality, like a frog in boiling water. If a frog is put in boiling water, it will immediately jump out, but if the frog is in cold water and you slowly increase the temperature, it won't notice the danger and it will be cooked to death. You're cooked. You are quite literally cooked right now. Well, actually, modern scientists say that due to the similar regulation, frogs will still jump out, so you're actually wrong. George?
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut the...
Thank you, George. Even though I enjoy story-focused turn-based action RPGs, and I do, my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy VIII, followed closely by Final Fantasy X, I just can't bring myself to drudge through dogshit storytelling like in Honkai Star Rail anymore. Even if I like the gameplay, as basic as it is, it's not worth it if it's only 5% of the game as a whole. No, wait, sorry, 3%. Almost gave it too much credit there. Fun but scarce gameplay, interesting core story ruined by terrible writing. Seriously, does anybody talk like a regular human? Just one. I just need one person, please. Atrocious exposition, repetition, jargon, and a lot left unexplained, leaving players feeling unsatisfied. This is what 90% of Honkai Star Rail...
I mean, I do not know what the heck happened to Jingdu and Locha. That's something what they just went on vacation.
Is right now. And even if the rest of the 10% is all good, all great even, 90% is still the vast majority. And that's why I say, as a whole, Honkai Star Rail fucking sucks ass. Hey guys, just something I want to say to everyone out there. If you like Honkai Star Rail, just keep in mind that this is not a personal attack on you for liking that game. I'm not going to say like anything that you're stupid.
He had to put in a disclaimer. Did he put that in later or something? Did he get that much hate and death threats or something? Did people go like absolutely unhinged? Because I know how unhinged tribalism is. Did he put that in after? And he didn't even go into the endgame pro. I have more problems with like the whole thing of the power creep. He didn't even go into that part. I guess he has a whole different problem with the game than what. And I do suppose I played it since day one every single day. I think, maybe. I don't know if I had an internet outage at one point or something during that time. But for the sake of that, I probably played it. And he didn't even get through the rough Xianzhou experience. He actually had a better Xianzhou experience, because based on this I take it he probably started later. He didn't even suffer through the worst quest on the Xianzhou, which is the what was his name, Danshu or something? Was that her name? The stupid Sanctus Medicus guy. He didn't even suffer through that shit while it was mandatory. That's the worst quest in the game. Because you had to somehow emphasize with that crazy woman, and somehow it's fine that she bullies the little blind girl because reasons or something. And then you let her go at the end. That's probably the part that's probably the part why I didn't like it, because in the end you had her cornered and let her go because apparently you're supposed to fear her. I would have just kicked her ass and literally the last part wouldn't have happened because the villain would have been dead. But Fantilia would have still been around, but Plan would have literally been foiled. Because their leader would have been dead. Oh well, let's go for it.
For liking it. If you do like it, then I'm genuinely happy for you. But these are the reasons why, personally, I don't like this game, and I just needed to get them off my chest for everyone to hear, because very often I hear people say that they like Honkai Star Rail, I say I don't, and they say why. And whenever that comes up now, I can just point to this video and say, just watch this and you'll understand why. As I mentioned before, there's a lot to like about Honkai Star Rail. Like the game design, the character design, the music is amazing. Some of the finale cutscenes and all that, I really enjoy all of those. But when it comes to actual core gameplay itself, in comparison to how much of it we actually get in this game, I don't think it measures up. And the further we go along in Honkai Star Rail, the further I feel like Hoyo just doesn't really want us to play this game like at all. Like with the whole auto battling system, it's very useful. It's very convenient as well. So don't get me wrong on that. But like with the amount of, or should I say, the lack of combat or the lack of gameplay in the actual story itself, combined with more recent characters such as Akron using her skill to instantly get rid of the other mobs as well. It just feels like more and more they're just giving us more reasons not to do the thing that we came to this game to do in the first place. Does that make sense? And I'm sure I'm going to hear some people say, well, just don't use Akron.
It's kind of a... I don't know if it's tied to like a more fundamental sort of modern game design problem. Of that they try to make it so easy that everyone can get through it. So that in the story, every battle will be way easier than anything else. Because it accounts for like the lowest common denominator. So like that the biggest idiot imaginable is supposed to get through the story without crying. Like the person that has no clue how artifacts work, has no clue how anything works, gets dragged through the story. Somebody who probably haven't even equipped a Lightcon yet or something because it was too complicated. Like those type of people that drag through. I don't think it really lets you lose any But I guess, I don't know with the bosses, like, how terrible can you be to still get something I had to really put my mind around it fully. Because I think most people never engage with any endgame mode. I think it's the same in Genshin as well, like they never do that. Like they spend money on characters and then never build them. Or never play them. It's kind of hard to really understand that sort of enjoyment, like pulling for a character. Imagine pulling for a character in Genshin and then leaving at level 20 and or something and then never playing the character again. That's kind of something. And to get everyone through, they avoid as much as possible to put combat in there, because like those type of people, they would probably fail at everything miserably because they're kind of stupid. And even when there's it's gonna be like a lot lower than anything else. Like I don't know where you put in story in terms of flaws of Memory of Chaos, because there's like some earlier flaws that you never do that. But maybe it could be compared to the game story is maybe flaw 1 or something in Memory of Chaos, which you cleared like I don't know what level. Like it's definitely way below in difficulty. And they only use it very sparsely because they have to make it so low, so it's kind of also not really that engaging, and it's kind of perpetuating. And in a lot of games put it that they just make everything so easy, and in easy gameplay is taken kind of seen as equivalent to accessibility. It's kind of a fundamental modern game design problem in general that he's somewhat addressing with this, because a ton of other games have that too. That's not just in Star Rail. That difficulty is like so super easy.
Then, well, that's first of all, that's completely missing the point. Second of all, you realize that when you say that, when you're talking like that you sound like the people that are defending Genshin that are saying, oh, well, just don't use Hyperbloom then. Like, why would I not use what I have in my arsenal? And it's the same thing I'm hearing quite often. All the things I hear people say that they hate about Genshin, they defend vehemently in Honkai Star Rail. I just don't understand why. I don't understand why they give Honkai Star Rail a pass when they...
What's the problem with Hyperbloom? I don't get what's the problem with Hyperbloom. Also, I'm not sure what it compares to in Star Editing. If anything, in Star you just get up a new unit that's just taking a shit on it. Anyway, here's face shot, now your ratio is useless.
You absolutely rag on Genshin for it. They're both just as bad in my opinion. I know this video is going to get downvoted to hell, but that's fine. I know that's just what it's going to be. I'll take Ryuko-sensei in this case, I guess. Because I bet most of the people won't really watch past the first 30 seconds. They'll just leave it a downvote, a negative comment, and just go on with their life. And again, that's just the nature of things. Another thing I know that's going to happen is I'm going to get people in the comments saying, you only dislike it because you're a Kuro shill for Wuthering Waves. And that's just not the case. I made my first video about Honkai Star Rail way back in March, if I remember correctly, in March or April, way before Wuthering Waves came out. And I've always had these opinions about Honkai Star Rail. So it really isn't a case of me wanting to shill for any particular game or company over another one. It's just the way I feel about this. And in fact, I actually have another video in the works right now, kind of being really quite critical about Wuthering Waves. Maybe not as hard as this video here, but still quite critical. So, I don't know. Take that for what it's worth. But to all you out there that actually watch this video to the end, just know that I greatly appreciate you, even if you disagree with me on...
Alright, I guess he's wrapping up. That was some interesting. Not even the text that I have a problem with. Like I'm mostly about the power creep and that characters you like and you've built up and they feel kind of like they're just not gonna cut it anymore and the next time then the mode swaps or something. Like it feels like always you're not really gonna get... I don't think it's a bad game. I think I might not have that big of a problem with the story, but I do see there's maybe a problem with that it's just not that much gameplay and they kind of... But I feel like as I said, that's a more modern... Like you can find a ton of AAA games and they probably all will do the same thing, the same problem with gameplay and difficulty of gameplay. And maybe it's also maybe it's somewhat actually MiHoYo's fault with Genshin becoming so popular and having that sort of story difficulty is super low in all of these. And only outside of the story you really get gameplay that's not just falling over. And it's how it kind of devolved more and more into just visual novel. Because it's kind of a gradual development of sorts. Because at the start it's like you had the story game and some more gameplay. But the gameplay was basically because they want everyone to get through so the enemies are piss easy. And then it wasn't interesting, so they reduced the amount and it reduced more and more because they don't really want to put any roadblock into the story. Or they wouldn't dare to put in any. They feel like everyone has to be able to play the current story. And they put story skips in Genshin that I don't know why they would put that in. As if there's some urgency to play the current story. When you're not even through a Liyue story yet or something. And it's kind of something I don't really think that will... His issues will probably not get fixed with the next version either. At least I don't believe that their storytelling way will change much in that sense. I still enjoyed Penacony's story. Probably a lot more than what he did even. Although it's kind of hard to... Didn't fully hate it. I still think they will keep the same style. They put in a few more cutscenes, but there's still a lot of the very static stuff. Like I don't think they will fully go cinema. And as I said, that's kind of some... this might be taken That's kind of like something about Asian writing with using lots of words to describe things. I'm not sure how much he's been like sort of having experience with anime culture in general, but you have that in anime a lot too. That sort of stuff. And tons of flashbacks. I mean, in Naruto they sometimes flashback the very same episode that that it appeared the first time. That actually happened. I think in One Piece they have that a few times as well. Literally flashback for the same episode. So he might not be too familiar with it, but it's definitely something that's very, and it might be why I'm more used to the whole thing and won't really necessarily notice it as much, that it's very word heavy. Also, I never had any problems with Paimon. Maybe it's also a thing that I use Japanese voices, so maybe that's why Paimon is not a problem for me. Whenever Paimon is a problem comes up, it always seems to be with the English voiced Paimon. I've never heard the English voiced Paimon, so I don't really want to say anything where I'm not. But whenever it's brought up, it's always the English voiced Paimon. So maybe that's... But it's all very much on the wordy, and you will always have the sort of character standing and exposition. That's something you will always have in. Suppose he does have a few, or he definitely did not address the thing that I would have expected. I would have been so expecting the power creep issue as the main thing, and it, as kind of the because I think if anything the power creep would destroy the game if it comes down to that the characters become obsolete way too fast and they have to kind of do the arms race higher and higher, and I hope they kind of put a stop to that at least for the next version, that the characters just don't have to giga power creep, because people will pull for characters if they simp. That's kind of what's happening in all of their games. Like people have still been pulling like crazy for characters just because they sim for, even if they're not top tier meta. Like people pulled like crazy for Navia, and Navia is she's good but not a top meta unit. But people still liked her so much, so they pulled for her. Well, anyway, I think he has well, but I don't think that they will ever go in a way that would satisfy him. They will definitely keep going with the way they write. So I guess I wonder if he stops playing them based on that. Well, I guess I will probably not know unless you tell me. Either way, that's it for this one. Quite an interesting one. So watching, and have a nice day.